Content warning, y'all. We have lots of fun making this podcast, but remember, we watch a lot of R-rated films, use language that reflects that, and joke about heavy topics to create levity around these themes. If that doesn't feel safe or could be triggering, please take care of yourself. We want you to have fun listening too. This also means we might not be suitable for children. Oh yeah, and we spoil the end of all the movies we pod about. Thanks for listening.
Except I'll probably have to dookie again. Did you know that I think the average American... What's wrong with your coffee?
I don't know. It tastes weird.
What's it taste like?
It tastes like it smells weird. I don't know, man. I'm so sensitive to things.
It's because your period.
That's funny. That's funny. That was a good one. For the last couple episodes, I've been in charge of recording.
Starting the tape
Yeah.
recorder.
And I feel like so much more involved.
Good.
I'm like, I would never want to give this up. I never want to let it go.
Good.
Anyway.
By all means.
Yeah.
Happy to... I feel so free.
I feel tired. I feel really tired. I was struggling this
I'm kind of
morning.
low T today.
I know.
Myself.
I am. I'm very low T. I just have like zero energy, and I'm like, ugh. It took me so long. I was awake for like a while before you woke up. Not a long time, just like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something before you woke up. And then I just stayed in bed that whole time. I just feel like, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, whatever. You should follow us on social media.
Oh my God. We're so much more fun on social media than we...
Well, the important thing is we post twice a week on social media. Sometimes 3 times a week.
Can you imagine?
I've been struggling with getting back to like making our Wednesday clips because I usually do Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And I've been struggling so hard to do the Wednesday clips because it'll be Thursday and I'm like, oh.
I mean,
oh, right.
Same, obviously,
Wednesday.
because I usually put out the Unmentionables on Wednesday. And oops.
Right.
Which?
I mean, whatever.
I got to do another one already.
Yeah.
Sorry, our patrons.
Sorry, buddies. Anyway, yeah, if you want to become a patron, though, and listen to exclusive episodes.
Exclusive content.
Yeah. That was really good.
Thank you.
God. That was really good. Go to patreon.com/thenkpod. And even if, like, I know it sounds like whatever, but, like, becoming a patron, like, even if you, like, give, like, $1 a month or whatever, like, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal for us.
Bro, help us grow our brand.
Yeah, for serious. Like, we put any money we get towards, I mean, like, I would be like, we put it towards equipment.
LOL.
No, we are poor. We put it towards, like, anything that we...
Bills?
Yeah. We put
Food?
it towards rent, and we put
Gasoline?
it towards... Yeah. We
Thanks,
need...
Putin.
We need money because we are poor. So, yeah. Supporting us is a big fucking deal.
I know you don't care about poor people because
you're not poor.
Most of our audience is in the U.S. So.
I just wanted to say really quick, though.
Yes.
If you don't have money to throw at us, we understand that because we also don't have money to throw at us. So if you are like, I wish I knew how to support your podcast, but I don't have money, you actually don't have to give us money to support our podcast.
True.
Things you can do that do a lot for us, like a lot for us, that cost zero money is if you have a Twitter, following us on Twitter, retweeting us every now and then. Or even just interacting with a post. Like, you don't even have to you don't even have to retweet us. Just interacting with our posts will get more visibility for us. Likewise, the same thing with Instagram. Comment, like, and post a couple things in your stories about us every now and then. It doesn't even have to be like that.
That would be tremendous.
That would
if
go.
If you listen and enjoy.
Yeah.
Tell somebody.
Yeah. And also, like, let us know that you're listening. Like, we give a shit, but we don't necessarily know who's listening because, like, people don't tell us. We don't know. Like, we don't get told who our audience specifically is.
Right.
Like, this is something just I want to emphasize. Like, if you're listening and you think we know, we have no idea.
No.
It tells us, like, 8 people have listened to this episode, or, like, it tells us, like, the number of people it, like, calculates. And whether that's accurate or not, I don't know. But it doesn't tell us. And sometimes it'll tell us, like, where the traffic's coming from.
But only by, like, country.
But, no. I mean, like, Spotify or,
I see.
Platform. Something like that. Yeah. But it doesn't, but likewise, it only tells us, like, you have, like, an average of, like, 4 listeners in the UK or something. LOL. We have, like, an average of, like,
Shout out to Haley.
0.01 listeners in the UK. And, like, Germany or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like
who's that?
I know. I mean, thank you. If you're listening, thank you so much. But yeah, it's like, we don't.
Dankeschön.
We have no idea. So if you're listening, just, like, comment and be like, I enjoyed this episode, or this episode is ridiculous, or just put an emoji of the guy running and the puff of smoke behind us to let us know you heard the fart in the episode. Whatever. Like, yeah. Little things like that. Like, it seems like, I don't know, as someone who
doesn't listen to podcasts ever?
Well, shut.
Called out.
No, as someone who, as someone who is both an artist and a fan of other artists, there will be a lot of times that I don't comment on stuff because I'm like, they don't care. They don't really want me to comment. But as an artist, not getting comments on stuff or, like, not getting likes, it's like, it doesn't, or, like, not getting, like, interaction with stuff. I want to see it from everyone. I don't, like, it doesn't matter if you're like, I commented on the last one, and maybe they're probably sick of me. Please. No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I think there's definite blind spots that we all have, you know, when it comes to this stuff, because it feels so omnipresent and in your face. And, you know, so much of it at this point is just consumption, not interaction.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes. Anyway, you don't have to, but if you feel inclined, and if you've ever felt like commenting isn't going to make a difference, it absolutely will. Just letting you know.
It feeds the beast, if nothing else.
It honestly, it's
and
like,
I don't mean us. I mean l'algorithm.
But it does. But also, like, we work really hard on this. We really work hard on this, and we make.
I mean, it's fun. We enjoy doing that work. Obviously,
very, very little money off of it.
But it'd be great if
and so recognition is really important.
It's real nice.
Yeah. Being like, hey, I see you. And, like, you know, like, several of my friends, like, they consistently, like our Instagram posts, and it's, like, super, I'm super grateful, and I'm always like.
For sure.
And there are a couple of people out there that I'm always like, they haven't liked the post yet? And then I see that they liked it, and I'm like, okay, they just slept in or whatever.
Yeah, right. Somebody had a wild night.
I'm like, anyway, yeah.
Hello and welcome to this episode.
It's been 45 minutes so far. Actually, it's been
5 seconds.
So we watched. If you're here, then you'll know what movie we're talking about, because we no longer make it a surprise. But also, because it wouldn't be anyway. Like, you would, whatever. It is so. May is my birthday month. So we're officially, I mean, right now it's still April. We're recording this, so who cares? But so what we planned on doing, it was my idea, I came up with that, was we're having our own, like, I'm choosing all the movies for May, since it's my birthday month, and for Keith's birthday month, July, he's choosing all of the movies that we watch then.
Except for the first one, because July has one extra week.
Right, and I was
5 Saturdays compared to May's 4.
Keith was like, that's fine. And I was like, no, you're not picking 5 movies. I was like, very much like, no, we're not doing that. I was like, no, that's unfair. That's uncalled for. So the first week of July is going to be a special treat. Anyway,
a special Independence Day.
So, yeah, we watched.
It's not Independence Day.
Oh no. Oh no.
Not even close.
So, I'm picking movies that have been like big influences on me. And the last, because I'm doing this one is Great Balls of Fire, and then next week is going to be Mystery Men, then The Craft. And then we're doing Prom Night, which I've never seen, but I've always wanted to see it, but I've never seen it. So,
yeah, and I said once you described why you chose the ones you did, I decided that was a good rubric for me. I haven't chosen mine yet. I have a long list to pick from, but
your list of movies to pick from is all the list of the movies to watch for the
podcast. But I've never seen The Craft.
Yeah.
And neither of us have seen Prom Night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I want to choose one that is like
new to you,
pretty influential to me that you've never seen, and one that neither of us have seen.
Yeah. It'll be hard to find one that we've never seen that we both want to watch. I'm just kidding, because it doesn't matter if I want to watch it or not. We're watching it anyway. So yeah, Great Balls of Fire is horrible. It's a horrible
1989.
movie. Oh my god, it's just a terrible story of like.
I was thinking this morning, like, I'm not sure what they wanted from this movie.
So I was reading about it. I'm sure you read about it too, but like it was so Myra.
Gail Brown.
Right. Who's Myra Lewis Miller now or something like that? Or Wilson or something. Myra. Anyway.
She's been married a couple times.
Yeah.
Since
so she wrote a book about like her experience, basically with the intention of wanting to talk about like abuse and just like
overcoming it.
Yeah, overcoming abuse and the difficulties that she faced in a marriage to Jerry Lee Lewis. And she sold the rights to the book for $100,000. And they rewrote it, basically.
Yeah.
And so she was really upset by that, which I understand. And then they made this movie, like, because it was her story about her experience.
Right.
And they wrote it. That was like, the story of Jerry Lee Lewis, however, and it was like totally not anything about her. And then this movie is loosely based on the book. They were like, we weren't trying to actually make a documentary film. We were trying to, or like something that was true to life. They're like, we just wanted to take it and run with it and do whatever we wanted. So both Myra and Jerry Lee Lewis don't like the film.
Right. And apparently neither, like...
It's weird to me because Jerry Lee Lewis was hands-on during the making of it. He re-recorded all of the vocals for it. Yeah. And like was like on set, basically was like was taught Dennis Quaid how to like play the piano and in his style and shit like that, and like or like coached him on how or whatever, not like literally taught him how to play the piano, I don't think.
I just watched a behind the scene thing, where Dennis Quaid said he was already a musician, I guess. He already had some piano skills, but for the movie he said he practiced 12 hours a day for 6 months.
That's
12
insane.
hours a day.
That's insane. No.
I agree. It seems unlikely, but that's what he says.
Oh my God.
And that I read somewhere else that he had been learning for 2 years in preparation for the movie, just piano in general.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wow.
And then they also used they used a hand double.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's why it's, it's clear that there are shots where it's just.
I didn't really clock that because.
Oh, I thought you commented on it.
No.
Okay.
Okay. But it's weird that he didn't like it because he was so hands-on and he was like, "Oh, Quaid did a great performance of me, but I don't like the movie." And I'm like, "Okay, why? I don't understand." It's weird. There's so much jumping around, especially in the beginning of the movie. Time just jumbles around. And I'm like, how in the fuck? I mean, I understand. It's really, sorry, I'm doing the thing where I'm like having 15 thoughts at once. I'm like, though, if you, it's interesting, because, so it's super interesting. I don't want to say it was easy because I don't really mean like you didn't, it took nothing. But to get a record contract back then, you just basically played for a studio. And, that doesn't mean that record companies would just completely take ownership of everything you did. And then, half of the shit they didn't own and they didn't get money a lot of times. So it wasn't like, oh, it was a great deal. I don't mean like that. But it's wild that they just had these radio stations, the scene where they just the record company hand delivers the first
physical single to
the very first
single
that
station.
They cut to the radio station across the street and then they play it. And that shit's real. They really did shit like that. And it's fucking insane to think that it worked like that back then, which is probably why a lot of older people are like, just say you want something and you'll get it. And I'm like, interesting that you have that. Just
talk to the manager.
Just go into a place that you want to work at, say you want to work there, and they'll hire you. Yeah. Have you done that yourself? I did that in 1974.
In the last 20 years?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Anyway, old people suck. Am I right?
Previous generation, my ass.
But yeah, there's so much where they're like, oh, he hasn't heard back from this person or this person, and then the next thing is him getting I'm like, what?
Hearing his song on the radio,
right? And I'm just I don't totally understand what's. I'm like, what? It's very confusing to me. How that all was supposed to. I think they're trying to emphasize. They were trying to make us. Yeah, I don't remember those socks at all. Those Bombas. I don't remember those.
Okay.
I mean, they might be new ones, but I don't remember them. Anyway, sorry. I feel like when we started recording, I was like, I'm so tired. And then I took 3 big gulps of coffee and I'm like, okay, listen. Okay, but here, what? I ate a banana and then drink coffee. It's just sugar. I'm going to crash so hard on the end.
Yeah. Get some protein.
I will at the end of the episode. Anyway, yeah. I'm someone, I don't respond to caffeine. I don't get super energetic with caffeine. But if there's sugar in anything, I'm like, So, oh my God, the left hand, right hand bullshit. I forgot about that. Oh my God.
That and, well, first of all, I had no idea before this that Jerry Lee Lewis and Jimmy Swaggart were related.
Yeah.
Are related. They're both still living. Also, that was news
depressing?
To me.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, the fact that Jerry Lee Lewis is alive is shocking because no one from that time is fucking alive anymore.
Yeah.
They're all dead.
I mean, it's probably because he quit being popular.
Oh, yeah.
Or, he didn't have the rise. He was rise got cut short.
Well, my favorite thing about it is that Jerry Lee Lewis,
the drugs and alcohol were.
I read something that was like Jerry Lee Lewis's career, got cut short because he married a child because he's a pedophile. And it was like, but he like found like fame once again in country music, and I'm like, oh, yep, that tracks.
Right.
That tracks. Oh God. It's insane. Like, so okay. I used to watch this movie. Now, I don't think Dennis Quaid is hot. Like, I don't actually think Dennis Quaid is hot at all. Like, he's not like ugly or whatever. I mean, whatever. I just mean like I've never felt an attraction to Dennis Quaid. I'm not like ooh la la, nothing. There's just like, but it's because when I was younger, I was obsessed with any fucking movie that had like an inappropriate relationship with an adult and a teenager, anything. And so obviously that's the
crux of this movie.
That's everything about this movie is their inappropriate relationship. And I was like, oh my God, I fucking love this movie. And I used to watch it all the time. Just to let you know what my brain is like.
Yeah.
And like I like watching it as an adult, I'm like, ugh, it's so gross. Oh God, it's so fucking gross.
Yeah, and the way it's depicted
horrible.
is not.
The way it's depicted is fucked up, but it's also super interesting because it does show her hesitance in so much of it, which I think is almost impressive considering that like so. I mean, it's not taken seriously, obviously, but like she says so much that she's like, I don't know about this, or like, are you, like, what are you doing, and like all these things where she's like. And, like, when he's like, oh, I got a marriage license for us. And she's like, I'm 13. And he's like, okay, but, don't you want to be with me? And she's like, I don't know. That's a big question. And I know it's awful, but when they're getting married and the look on her face, when she's just, like, blankly staring and they're like, and she's like, and then they're like, you're married. She's like, like Winona Ryder does so good with those like subtle like facial expressions that like say so fucking much where she's just like, and there'll be like just a flash of just like her like half smiling, and it just, you don't think she's enjoying it, you just think she's like like,
especially
it's so
when
good.
David Harbour's doing an impromptu political
oh my God
commentary. Also, in that behind the scenes thing, there was a clip of Myra Gale, who I think, despite not being asked to be a consultant, did come on set.
She did, yeah. Despite she was like not invited, and she went anyway.
Yeah, but they have one clip of her in this behind the scenes thing that where she was like, oh no, the look on Winona Ryder's face says it all. That's exactly, it captures what I was feeling. Overwhelmed and confused and
yeah, like, oh my God. Also, I hate, and this is consistent with when I was younger too. It was so awkward and uncomfortable, and I was like, the like losing her virginity scene. I'm like, we don't need that ever in a movie. I hate it
so much.
I was like, when I was younger, I was always like,
feels like manufacturing consent, those scenes.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh yeah, it's uncomfortable at first, but then you'll like it.
I love that too. That, I mean, like, I don't have that experience because I waited so long to have sex that I was just like,
your hymen just evaporated.
Yeah, basically. It was like, I was like, hymen, I don't even know her.
Hymen, more like, bye ladies.
I love how this was a nice piece of advice that my mom told me, because I definitely waited a long time to have sex, and I like tried to like
I'm still waiting.
I like came out to my mom and was like, so I'm like not straight, and she was just like, okay, but she would like say like such backhanded things. She's like, it's only because you've never had sex before that you're, and I'm like, Let me tell you something.
What?
I had sex with a man, and immediately afterwards, I was like, I like women so much more. And it wasn't like I had so much fun. Like, we're still friends. Like, it wasn't a bad experience. And I was just like, oh, I'm so attracted to women. It got so much stronger after that. I was like, that did not kill the urge to be with a woman. That did nothing for that. That, if anything, it made it stronger. So, yeah.
I'm so sorry that I'm keeping you from your
That's not what I mean.
self.
No, I just mean, like, I've slept with women since then. So it's not like something where I'm like,
Yeah, but have you?
Anyway, yeah. Just letting everyone know, I really am bisexual.
Well, you're the problem, then.
Oh, God. Dennis Quaid's, like, blonde hair. Thank you. I just registered what you said. Dennis Quaid's, like, blonde hair, and his eyebrows look kind of dark, and all his facial expressions, I wrote down, Dennis Quaid is giving Carrot Top in this. He just looks...
Serving.
Yes.
Carrot Top.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you did make a comment about how he looks
I was like, ugh. And I was like, that's why he's so ugly in this movie, because he looks like Carrot Top. Also, his stupid accent and the way he moves his mouth and his Joker smile and, like, everything about him. He's just horrible. Why see?
Because I said at some point, I don't know if it was on mic, but it was at least after we watched Dreamscape.
Mm-hmm. That wasn't for the podcast.
Yeah, I know. But, yeah, I always thought he should play the Joker.
I don't think he should play the Joker because I don't enjoy him, so I don't want him to do anything.
Oh, I like him. I have a fondness for him. I don't know if he's a great actor necessarily.
That's what I mean. I don't feel like...
I think he's competent and decent. Anyway.
all I'm going to say is no one can beat Heath Ledger as the Joker. I do think Heath Ledger's did a great job. I just hate when people are like...
For me, it's Leto.
Jay Leno.
You ever notice? That's nothing like anybody.
You ever notice?
What's the deal with that? Lots of cars. Nailed it.
Jay? Is Jay here right now?
Hey.
If you close your eyes...
R.I.P. Gilbert Gottfried. I know. Close your eyes.
If people listening to this podcast are going to be like, oh my God, did they get Jay Leno? I thought they said that they didn't have money. What the fuck is going on here?
But I definitely... Also, Dennis Quaid was in his early 30s when he made this.
I know. I mean, he was 34.
Oh, okay.
Good God.
So he does feel a little old for the role. I mean, I think he does.
That's when we were watching it. I read that and I said, "How old is Dennis Quaid?" Because I was like, he was in his like mid 30s in the 80s. I was like, "Oh my God!" And I mean, he's old.
Zing.
Yeah.
I kept thinking Val Kilmer would have done a good job.
Oh, man, yeah.
Because if you think of his 80s.
Yeah.
Like Real Genius and Top Gun, where he's just a cocky.
Yeah. Yeah,
he could have really pulled it off.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about the way Dennis Quaid... the accent he does. Oh God, I just.
Well, it's not just the accent; it's like the dopiness of the way he delivers the lines.
Mr. Lewis, do you have any final words for England? Yeah, England can kiss my ass.
Which I'm sure is accurate for, but like this whole.
He bounces his head every time he ends a sentence. Well,
yeah, the hair.
A virgin don't move like that. Shut the fuck up.
God said it's none of your business.
Well, then I guess I'll go to hell playing the piano.
Yeah, I know. I also, I feel like the movie can't. Its tone is very confusing because there are some hyper stylized things.
Yes. The house they live in, fuck.
Oh, amazing.
Oh.
And I imagine probably not at all hyperbolized.
Right. God, I would. Oh, if I could live in that house, I would.
But the like magical realism or something, I don't know what to call it, but like the stuff where he's on top and he's cruising through town and like they pass Graceland and everybody's like, oh, Jerry Lee, and then they pass the people on the steps of the Capitol or whatever, and
protesting,
and they start bopping, and then when he falls, when he comes back from England, everybody's doing it's the same montage, but they're doing
the tisk fingers.
Yeah, the fingers, which I thought was interesting. Like if they kept more of that, I would have been clearer on what they were doing. Yeah, but then there's too much actual realism or like keeping to historical facts that I'm like, what do you want from me? I don't. Do you want me to like this guy? Do you want me to hate this guy? Right, do you want me to sympathize with her?
So much of his behavior that's abhorrent is just portrayed as like tough times. Yeah. Like when he's like fucking other women. Yeah. Comes home, tries to sexually assault her. Yeah. And then hits her. Yeah. And the next day, she's like, I'm pregnant. And he's like, so happy. And they have a baby. Really and I'm like, or like he, and it shows like it's like implied that he like straightens out because he's like playing for.
Oh, yeah. The way it
and I'm like,
ends
no,
is really
that's not. Also, it's like, I hate that thing where it's like, because she's like, oh, you can't hit me anymore because, and he's like, oh, you're going to never let me live this down. I'm like, first of all, why should she? You fucking hit her in the face, you piece of shit. Like, and second of all, like, she's literally only with you because what the fuck else is going to happen? Like, she's a child who you took, oh my God. And this scene where they're essentially discussing grooming.
Oh, yeah.
You take JW there. You don't have to fool around. He's got the perfect wife, Lois. She's a lady first and foremost, quiet and reserved, always stylishly dressed. He never has to ask for his dinner or hunt for his clean socks. You got to get them while they're young. You take them right from their mama, and you raise them up there right by you to keep them true. You raise them just like you would a bird dog.
And he's like, you have to get them, and that way you never miss a meal. You never get, and I'm like, oh my God.
I gotta say, watching this on the heels of we started watching Phoenix Rising.
Ooh, yeah.
I watched it until I couldn't, which was about 30 minutes.
Yeah, I felt really bad because Keith pretty much was like, I can't do this. And I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't your fault. It was.
No, I know. It's just, I could tell you were like basically about to have a fucking panic attack.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, sorry.
I still haven't fully recovered, I don't think.
Yeah. That's
so watching this movie on the heels of that was
totally. Yeah.
Like, oh.
I think for just to in reference to Phoenix Rising, it's something that like I want to recommend people watch it for the sake of I think viewership and giving Evan Rachel Wood support. Like if people watch it, then it will get more views. It's hard to like be like show support by watching it, but it's so brutal. It is so brutal. I basically cried through the entire thing. It's like 2 episodes, and it clocks a little under like 3 hours. It's like It's like an hour. The first one's like an hour and 15 minutes, and the second one's like an hour and 20 minutes. So it's like a little bit less than. It's like 2:45 or something like that. 2.5 hours. 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Let me just look it up.
So
we'll give you an exact number.
So heavy and so brutal.
And as far as like trigger warnings go,
all of them.
Yeah, all of them. Here's why it fucked me up. Is because what's the song called? Heart-shaped
glasses.
Okay, so they shoot this video. She was told there was going to be a simulated sex scene. And basically he sexually assaults her during the filming because it's not consensual. He just starts doing it.
Yeah.
when she was told
But
that's
also,
not what was
she
going
was
to happen.
underage. She was like 18
Yeah.
or 19, so she couldn't legally consume alcohol. She was drunk at the time.
Right.
And like they were recording, so like all of this stuff counts as sex trafficking legally.
Yeah.
Which is something they discussed later on in it.
Yeah, because a big part of the documentary is her legal fight.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like one thing is trying to get statute of limitations for sexual assault.
Yeah.
In California, at least.
They did, but
not
but
to
not
the degree
to
they wanted, right?
Yeah,
They got
not to the degree that they wanted, and even the degree that they wanted was past
still nothing.
her
Yeah.
statute of limitations.
Okay, but
Yes.
the documentary, the filmmakers or what have you, decide to show the scene that is in the music video,
Yes.
which the video shouldn't exist, right?
Right,
The
correct,
music video
yes.
shouldn't exist, and then they just drop in the clip
Right.
of the sexual assault.
Yeah.
Without warning.
Yeah, that's something like I was like very confused about. I was like, I'd seen it before, so I knew what was, so it wasn't as like, I haven't watched it like that. I didn't know until I watched it that like what had happened. But I had seen the music video before, so I was like, oh, right, it had been a long time, but like I was like, oh, right, I remember watching this, blah blah blah. But you had not seen any of it.
No, I didn't know
anything about it.
I didn't know the song even. But,
so yeah.
And then fucking footage of him and Andy Dick on I don't know what, probably Howard Stern or some shit. Describing
No, it was this show that used to be on IFC that was like
that's the thing where they just throw a bunch of people at a dinner table.
Yeah, just like a bunch of actors like eating dinner together, and they all tell stories. Yeah.
So, telling the story of the making of a quote film called Groupie.
Yeah.
Which is basically just a snuff film as far as I can tell. But they show a scene, they drop in a scene of that.
Yeah.
Where, it's not graphic except for what you hear.
Right.
Don't do this.
Yeah. I mean, I understand doing it because of I understand doing it because so many people are like, it's her word against his.
Yeah.
So, like, showing the actual clips of it with his dialogue is like, this is not something that's being exaggerated or manipulated.
Right,
this is like his word and this is his film. Yeah. I'm not saying it, but it should be upsetting. Like, you shouldn't watch it and be like,
yes,
this is chill. Oh, okay.
Agree. I don't know.
I get it. I don't think you're reacting incorrectly.
Yeah, and to be clear, my issue is with the lack of
warning.
Yeah.
I mean, it does give a content warning before it starts that like it has like very graphic, But that's not. What does that mean?
Right.
Because and again, I'm not saying you're wrong in any of this, but it's like, it's so hard.
I mean, I also, to be fair, was not aware of the degree
to which
the depth of his monstrosity.
Yes. Also, and I mean her descriptions of it, like you don't hear fully, like, well, not fully, but like the way she describes stuff is not great in the first episode. Like, she's like, oh, she's describing really bad stuff. In episode 2, though, she's like in a group with like all the several people that he's like assaulted and abused, and they're swapping stories back and forth, and like it gets like So I'm glad you tapped out when you did.
Yeah, me too. Apparently.
Also, I'm sorry that I kept watching it for so long without like just switching it to off.
Yeah,
or whatever.
well,
But whatever. That's just, anyway. But yeah, like watching something like that, I think it's interesting. I think it's a good comparison because not a good comparison. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Apt.
Yeah, because the music industry.
Yeah, clearly this
is absolutely encourages grooming. Yeah. Like, there's so many fucking stories.
Then I ended up reading about
Jared Leto.
Lingua
Ignota. Yeah.
I forget the person's name.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I mean, that's just because the connection is Jimmy Swaggart, but like all her work is about, or a lot of her work. Sorry.
Yeah.
She is a survivor of abuse, and specifically she's said at least 2 different semi-prominent musicians that she's been with abused her.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly.
All that to say, just like because I feel a little inundated.
Right. Yeah.
And that's nobody's fault. I'm not.
Yeah. I feel bad
it just
because
feels very tangible right now that this is not new.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ongoing.
Yeah.
And things have, like,
so
it's hard to not feel like, okay, I saw 2 seconds of
a rape. What?
Well, no, that's not what I was going to say.
Okay.
But
sorry.
I watched a biopic about somebody in the 50s.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And 10 minutes of a documentary about something that happened 10 years ago. 5,
it's
whatever.
like 15 years ago.
Sure. But all I'm saying is, like, it's,
Yeah.
That does not feel like an improvement.
Correct. And it's not, because it's
in 60, 70 years?
I mean, and the thing is, these stories aren't like the same thing as like Jared Leto. The same thing is with fucking Armie Hammer, like people, where people are doing really awful things to people and they have fame, and people are like, but I mean, like fucking Woody Allen.
Y'all remember Me Too?
Right. Fucking, I mean, like people still
Louis C.K.
Like all of these people who have done like shitty stuff.
Yeah.
There's accounts of it. There's proof of it, and it's like all people want to say is, I mean, like I saw something where like Molly Shannon was discussing, oh God, is it Gary Coleman?
Yes.
How he was like when she was like younger and like first starting out, she was like on Howard Stern or something. Or no, maybe she was talking about on Howard Stern. I don't remember. She writes about it in her book. I don't know. She was on something, and Gary Coleman like took her into his hotel room and was like jumping on her and was like grabbing and pawing at her, and she kept telling him to stop, and he wouldn't, and she like escaped from him, ran into the bathroom and like locked the door, and he was like reaching under the door with his hand and being like, I can see you. And she was like, I managed to get out of there. And I was like, somebody has to do something, but this is horrible, Oh, God. And I was like reading this article, and it was just like, it popped up on my Facebook. I don't remember, So I read it. I didn't like read every single, I was like skimming it because I was like, I don't know if I don't know how much I want to see it. I read most of it at least. And then I go back and all the comments are like, oh, this is so disrespectful because he's dead, and like, how dare you talk about them? And they're like, oh, this is so gross that she's talking about this now. Like, I can't believe, like, they're like, leave it in the past. Nobody cares. And I'm just like, so like 80% of the comments were like, she's just, they're like, oh, how bad do you want attention and shit? And I'm like, oh my fucking God. I'm like, she's not even saying like what I read, it was just like her experience with this really, and she was like, basically, I felt like she was taking more ownership than she should have. She's like, I was young. She was like, I was a virgin. Right. She was like, I didn't know anything about sex or anything. She was like, I was very Catholic. I was very sheltered, and I didn't know anything, and I was really naive, and I didn't know. She was like, I wasn't super threatened because of his size, but it still was like, she was like, I didn't know how to get out of it, and I didn't really know what to do. And she wasn't even like saying like, he was a piece of shit. He was, she wasn't like being like graphic in her descriptions of like him or whatever. Like, oh, he was such a, I could see the hunger in his eyes. Like, she wasn't being like, she wasn't being dramatic and talking about it. She was just like talking about how uncomfortable and awful it was. And people were just like, oh, yeah, fuck you. You're such a bitch. And I'm like,
man, yeah, like,
what the
which
fuck?
just goes to show you, because like, that's not even a.
That's not even that. I don't want to say that's not even that bad.
Well, no, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, he's no longer working. He's no longer alive, and people are still defending him.
People are like, how fucking dare you talk about him like
this?
I mean, and I'm like, what? And here's the thing, like, this is something, like,
Louis C.K. just won a fucking Grammy.
I know. I know. Fucking Christ. God. In the documentary and the Phoenix Rising, there's like something where like people are like, oh, she just wants like fame and money from this. And I was like, it is so fascinating to me that people say that. Because the only thing that happens to you is harassment and fear. Like half of the documentary, she literally, not even half, in so much of it, she can't be alone. She's literally has like family or friends with her at all times because she fears for her life in coming forward about him. And she's like on the verge of a panic attack. What? Oh. All right. Keith had to make brown in the round.
God damn it. Raging.
I want to say, like one of the reasons why I think, I mean, okay, I don't want to, it's really wild. Like this movie is like, I think one of the reasons why I identified so much with Winona Ryder's character is because of how she like is so afraid of, like when I was younger, I grew up in a lot of like Christian fundamentalist kind of you know, atmosphere, and there's always the talk of like revelation and the world ending, and that's like loomed over your head basically all of the time. And then she in that one scene she has this like freak out where she's like really terrified of
the bomb,
but like the world ending, and he's like, oh, that's revelations. He's like, it's really gonna happen, you know. And like in a way he like uses her fear. I mean, I don't necessarily know that he was intentionally doing that, but in a lot of ways like he tries to make her feel safe, you know. And last night while I was watching it, where he's like, she's like, all I really wanted was like a house, you know, like a pink house with a blue door and a baby sitting in like a high chair, and like that's all I've ever wanted. And he's like, well,
all of these 13 years.
I know. I know. Oh God. I had friends like that though. That were like, I want a baby. And I'm like, you're 13. And they're like, but I want to get married so bad. I'm like, why? I don't understand. Never could relate. Anyway. And look at me now. Unmarried. Hysterectomied. I got everything I wanted. So he says like, who do you see?
All I ever wanted was a little pink house with a blue door. A little baby sitting in a high chair.
Who do you see coming up the walk of that pink house? Huh?
No.
You don't know? Well, you think he might be about 6 foot tall with big blue eyes and wavy killer blonde hair?
And she gets uncomfortable. She's like, I don't know. And he's like, does he look like me? And he's like really pushy about like being this person that she wants. And I'm like, oh my God, that absolutely happened to me as a kid. Yeah. Like guys would just be like, oh, don't you, they would like insert themselves into my, like, I remember, I mean, this is like a very, you know, my sisters, I had like a crush on my sister's boyfriend, and I was like 8 years old at the time, 7 or like, no, like 8 or 9, between that age, 8 or 9.
Enough.
And she like was like teasing me and be like, oh, you know, they have a crush on you or whatever. Obviously, she didn't use they them pronouns. And she called me my birth name. So, you know, these are things. So there's some inaccuracies in this story. But
Names are changed to protect
right,
the
yeah.
guilty.
The innocent. So he would like be really nice to me, and I was like, okay, and he kissed me.
Oh.
And when that happened, and he was like 17.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, I was repulsed by him. Because I was like, I am fully aware. Like, I can have a crush. I was like, I'm like 8. But I'm fully aware that if you think I'm attractive or you have any interest in me, that means something's wrong with you. Like, I know that I can have a crush on someone older, and that's fine. But if someone older reciprocates that, something is wrong.
Yeah, you say this to me all the time.
Fuck off. So, yeah. So he like told me that he wanted to have sex with me.
You. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who would want to have sex with you?
No.
I'm sorry.
No, yeah. And it was like,
Jesus Christ.
and like men would behave that way around me. And, you know, it's something where like I didn't understand. I mean, still don't understand. I'm not going to be like, now I understand it. No, I don't fucking understand. I'm like, what the fuck? But it's that conversation. You got to get them while they're young. Because you have to groom them, because you have to make sure that they, because...
I don't understand how you can say this and then think it's not predatory.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah. No, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Like, what? But yeah, so like, I think I identified more with her as a kid than I realized I did. I thought it was like, ooh, it's just this, but I felt like really... like I felt like a connection to her character because of the fear that she has, and sort of, and of course, I'm not saying like, and that's why I liked it because it was an inappropriate relationship with an older guy and a younger girl, which I thought I always enjoy that in films.
Yeah.
Because I know that there's a safety, there's a consent, there's a safety, there's, someone's not actually like 12 years old, someone's not actually, there should be, at least. It's not always the case, but
Right.
So this was something where like I knew it was a movie, but at the same time,
Winona Ryder would have been at most 17.
Yeah, 17 or 18. She was born in 71.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and this came out in 89.
So she would have been 18. Okay. Yeah, 17, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know when they shot.
Right, yeah. That's a confusing thing for me too, because it'll be like, I always assume it was at least a year before, and that always really freaks me out when they're like, oh, this person was 18 when this came out, and I'm like, so how old were they when it was filmed? Were they like 16 or 17? Because what? Like, that's always really weird for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, like he was 30. That was like something that's why I was like, ew, he was 34. Ugh. Like, I always thought he looked older than like in his 20s, but I'm like, ew, I thought they were much closer in age than they actually were. And like looking at it, I was like, ugh. And it's just like that sort of, this is something like, this is why I think like the older I get, the more grossed out I get by that behavior, because people act like, like the older you get, the more you start to like, it's like implied almost that you like long for your youth. And I was always like implied to me, especially with men, like men miss their youth. So they're attracted to like younger girls. I know. But first of all, I don't miss my youth. That's okay. Yeah. I'd rather have some wrinkles than go back and live that time again. That's fine. I'm just like, there are aspects of my life that I'm like, man, I really do wish I could get a do-over with that period. I really wish I'd done things a little bit differently. But it extends to me only. It extends to choices I made. Right. I'm not like, I wish I could fuck a 20-year-old. Even that, I'm like, that's fucking gross to me. I'm in my 30s. Yeah. I don't even, for the most part, like, this is like a thing where like I'm so baffled because like younger stars or like stars are like getting famous, and it's like, oh, they're like 24 and 25, and I'm like, they are children to me. People are like, oh, they're so attractive. Like, oh, how hot is Timothy Chalamet? And I'm like, he looks 17 and a half. Like, I'm like, I can't be attracted to that. I just can't. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't, I mean, and I'm not saying, like, I do think in a sense that, like, in some ways there are aspects of, like, you know, someone behaving in a certain way, someone having pedophilic, like, impulses and, you know, being attracted to, like, younger people as a response to their own abuse.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily blame them for that, and I don't necessarily think it's their choice to feel that way. But I do think it's their choice to act on it, and it's their choice to not ask for help about it.
Yes.
And so obviously you don't choose who you're attracted to. I don't believe that at all.
Right.
But I do think you can think about who you're attracted to and think why. Like, why?
Yeah.
Just ask yourself. And ask yourself
have
why.
Self-reflection.
Right. Have some self-reflection and ask yourself why you want to hurt people. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself why you want to damage people because...
Or why you think you can't... I mean, we're talking about two different types of behavior.
We're talking about lots of different things.
But, like, why you think... I think for a lot of male socialized people in particular...
Correct.
I hate this still exists, but clearly it's still a phenomenon that you think... people won't voluntarily have sex with you.
Yes, right.
You think it's impossible that a female socialized person will basically consent. That it's, I mean, it really seems like at the root of it is that, like, you have to do some kind of trickery in order to get a woman to partner with you, go out with you. But basically, it's have sex with you is the end goal. Or I don't know about the end goal, but, you know, I think that's where the focus is for a lot of people. I mean, and there's whole industries built on that, right? Like, this is why Jordan Peterson is somebody that we know of.
I've talked about this before.
Or, like, all the Prince of Persuasion dudes.
Yeah. I've talked about this before. There was this documentary I saw that was about, like real dolls.
Oh, yeah.
And there was, like... It was, like, follow, I think, 3 people. I think it was just 3 people. And there was one dude that was just, like, gross about it. He literally had, like, 50 of them. And he would just, like, rotate them. Oh, it was so gross. He was just, like, it was really wild. He was just, like, constantly buying them. There was another guy that was, I'm assuming this person was queer. They were super effeminate. And they, like, had such affection for their doll. It was very sweet. They had to, like, after a while, like, because it's like, you know, like, after a few years, they kind of need to get, like, touched up, you know, like, their makeup will fade off. And they were, like, saying goodbye to it. Like, it had to be, like, taken away. Like, a truck had to come and take it away. And they were, like, saying goodbye to it. And they put lipstick on it. And they were, like, okay. And they were, like, so, like, keep it safe and, like, so careful about it. And, like, I'm not saying, oh, this is totally normal behavior, but they cared about it. They cared for it. They were sending it in for repairs. They were like, and they were worried that something would go wrong with it. And they genuinely were looking after it. Even though it wasn't a real person, it meant something to them. And it wasn't that they thought it was a real thing. They were just like, they cared so much about it. And it felt like they used it to simulate a relationship as opposed to just a sex doll, you know? And I was like, okay, I don't have any gross feelings about this. Like, this person is carrying it. Then there was another guy. And he was like, lived in a trailer kind of person, gross looking, looked like maybe he didn't really bathe. And he was just like, women hate me, so I don't bother with them. And he was like, here's the chain that I hang it from when I have sex with it. And I was like, oh my God. It was horrifying.
Do women hate you?
Right.
Or do you hate women?
Exactly. And that's it. That's what you're talking about. It's that thing of, like, women, like, there's so much evidence of this in, like, how, like, you know, like, dating apps and stuff where a guy will be like, oh, I'm ready to fuck. And, like, some girl will be like, wow, I'm not really looking for that. And they'll be like, yeah, well, you're fat and ugly anyway. And it's like, what the fuck?
It's like when your entitlement you think women should be available to you at all times.
Yes.
And when that's met with any kind of challenge,
Correct.
then you become the biggest misogynist
I'm a
possible.
nice guy. I can't believe all you women act like this.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, yeah, there's just so much. It's
Can
over.
you imagine the mind of a serial killer?
It's just like, it's overwhelming sometimes, I think. And it can feel disheartening
Yeah.
to look at all of this stuff. Like, to even like with the Evan Rachel Wood thing, like, the FBI is like trying to build a case against Marilyn Manson. He has done things that are technically like sex trafficking. There are eyewitnesses to her sexual
It seems like
assault,
there's plenty of evidence.
and nothing has been brought against him.
Yeah.
And instead, he's suing Evan Rachel Wood,
Right,
for defamation.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who, like, another one of the girls that that came out against him. He's suing them.
Mhm.
And who knows? Who knows how it'll go? Because honestly, who fucking knows? Because the laws in America are bullshit. And it's terrible. It's fucking terrible. And I'm not saying, like, it is hopeless. I'm not saying that. But, like, the way that people respond to something like that with, like, oh, she's just looking for fame. Or, like, you know, oh, they're just changing it after the fact because they feel bad that they did this stuff. No, that's not. It takes so much to actually talk about this stuff. Like Myra wrote a book because she wanted to empower other women to get out of abusive situations and to feel like they weren't alone in abusive situations. And that was her purpose and her reason for writing the book that got butchered and turned into a story about Jerry Lee Lewis.
Right.
And imagine that you're telling your story about your abuse and the neglect that you had when you were, I mean, essentially she was just like, I mean, basically like sex trafficked. She was like a child taken across like state lines.
Yeah.
She was
I assume because it wasn't legal in
correct
Tennessee.
Right.
They had to go to Mississippi?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that kind of, that's abuse. That's sexual assault. That's abuse.
That is a child.
That is a child who cannot consent. And you can say, like, and I hate when people are like, it was a different time. Yeah, it was a different time because but it doesn't mean that it's a different
but you see that
emotional outcome for the person. Like, these laws were made because it was recognized that damage was being done to people. Like, it's not about.
And if it was so different, was there an outrage when they went to the UK?
Exactly, right. And like, it's like, okay.
Why did he lie and say she was the ripe old age of 15?
Right. Yeah.
Then if it was so different.
And like, okay, I'm going to bring up the David Bowie shit.
Yeah.
Like, people love to just not bother about talk. And here's the thing with David Bowie, like, his stuff was out in the open. People knew about it. The person that he slept with, like, talks about it, and she doesn't have ill will against him. But I think it's like, you can still bring this up and say this shouldn't have happened and that this was wrong. And it doesn't mean that his music is ruined for anyone. Like, you can talk about it. I've had people be like, no, it was a different time.
Stop it.
And I'm like,
stop.
It's because he's white and because you like his music.
Right.
So you don't want to think about the fact that he did something disgusting.
Yeah. Right.
He did something disgusting. It doesn't mean that he never felt bad about it. It doesn't mean that he never regretted it. It doesn't mean that he never did any kind of amends.
For him, it doesn't seem to have been a pattern.
Correct. Yes. So. Right. They're like, it was the 70s. Everyone was doing it. Well, then everyone was fucking bad.
Oh, also fun trivia about Jerry Lee, because remember it turns out...
Oh my God, we laughed so...
In 2012, it turns out he married the ex-wife of Myra Gale's little brother. Oh.
We, like, it did not explicitly state that. It's just like we...
Yeah, we had to do some
did,
math
like,
with
a
pencil
little
and
bit,
paper.
yeah,
Like, John Prudhomme.
Yeah. I'm only laughing because it's like 2012. That means after this. That means like almost 20 years after this movie came out. Like 15 years after this movie came out.
I wanted to. This is a quote from Jimmy Swaggart, who married a cousin, by the way.
Yeah.
When he was 17 and they were 15.
Okay.
The extended family had this is from Wikipedia. The extended family had a complex network of interrelationships. Quote, cousins and in-laws and other relatives married each other until the clan was entwined like a big, tight ball of rubber bands.
Gross. That is so fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, you know.
And I'm not, like, people talk about.
There's a certain way, like, it explains Jerry Lee's, to me, accounts for his sort of disbelief at people's shock.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, clearly he was.
And I don't necessarily blame them for that aspect of it, for being like, it happens all the time, because I'm like, yeah, no one told him otherwise, and no one told her otherwise.
Right.
No one gave, and this isn't saying like he didn't do anything wrong. Yes, he did something wrong.
Right.
But like, the cousin thing is what I'm talking about. Like, when you're like, I mean, why would they be like, the parents were obviously worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they be worried about it if that wasn't something that was like, you know,
fully within
common?
the realm of possibility?
Yeah.
Right.
like that's a fucking weird thing. And I'm not saying that like I kind of like, this is and I'm going to emphasize white. This is a white Southern thing.
Yes.
I'm not saying all people from the South. I'm not saying if you have a Southern a Southern accent, you practice incest.
Right.
I will tell you that I know of people who practice incest. It doesn't mean that they like marry each other or whatever. Right. But I know people that, and I mean like victimized by it more so than like, ooh, this is great kind of thing. Like, oh, we just sleep with our cousins. Not like that. I mean, like, incest is a thing that will happen, and it's a lot of times white people. And why do you think it happens? To carry the fucking bloodline.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's the sort of stereotype of royal families.
Yeah, correct. Right. It's a white. That's why I'm saying it's a white. It's a white thing.
Yeah.
Carried over from like Europe and shit like that. It's not something that is like
right when wealth is inherited.
Correct.
You know.
Right. Yeah.
Why, of course.
Yeah.
I guess.
And even if it's not, if it's like, it's just like some weird sort of like pride thing. Like we need to.
And the emphasis on bloodlines and shit. Anyway.
It's gross. Anyway.
Everything's
would you recommend?
I cannot in good conscience recommend this movie.
Yeah.
It is an interesting historical document.
It is, though.
And by historical, I mean the fact that it came out and was made, and learning about all this is
right.
interesting. I wanted to say that, like, I thought this during, like, a lot of it reminded me of, like, R. Crumb or, like, a Ralph Bakshi movie.
I don't know anything about those things.
Well, R. Crumb, you've probably seen his work. He's, you know, he draws ladies with big tits. And, you know, he was Fritz the Cat. They made a documentary about him in the 90s. He was basically famous for being an incel.
Oh, right on. Yeah. Love that shit.
And Ralph Bakshi, I watched his movie Heavy Traffic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, sometime during quarantine. Mm-hmm. And he did, I knew his name from in the late 80s. They did The New Adventures of Mighty Mouse.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he's an illustrator, animator.
Mm-hmm.
And his stuff is visually really interesting. He, anyway, in Folding Ideas, that guy has a. I think that's maybe what led me to watch one of his movies.
Yeah.
He did a Lord of the Rings adaptation that's animated.
Oh.
In the 70s?
70s, I think. Yeah.
Anyway.
Maybe early 80s, but yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I'm familiar with
Nor I.
With it.
Or maybe it's just The Hobbit. That's what it is.
Yeah. It is, yes.
In a hoozle.
Two things that I did not
I wasn't finished.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. But but it's again, it's like, okay, the tone, like, so it's almost really interesting what they do with, it starts with little Jerry Lee and Jimmy sneaking out and watching black folks at a club.
Observing, yeah.
Well, and what's really interesting is that they keep that they set that up, and then when he returns to Faraday, when he goes back to Louisiana after going to Memphis.
Yeah, for like Christmas or whatever.
He apparently, it's not supposed to be the same club, but he goes.
It's the same. It's supposed to be the same. It is the same club.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I thought you were saying in the film it's not supposed to be. I'm like, then why do they use everything the same? Why they go the same route?
Yeah, I'm just confused because of that's based on my confusion about how the credits given to the actors.
Gotcha. Okay.
It again does the thing where he's literally peeking through a window.
Yes.
Into, and this is where he hears a whole lot of shaking going on, right? Or is that the first time when they're kids? No, it's the second time because it's the.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, and before the Sam Phillips of Sun Records says,
"You take a white right hand and a black left hand, and what do you got? Son, you got rock and roll."
Also, they make a big deal in this movie about Elvis. And Sam Phillips, like, let him go, like,
yeah.
I don't know what that,
I don't
know the logistics of that, but famously, and this is the whole thing of the rise of rock and roll is, famously, Elvis was described as sounding black.
Yeah.
While being white, and that's why he was able to succeed.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So, and what in like, I don't know how literal Sam Phillips was being, or if he even actually said that, but it seems likely, right?
Right. He probably said it a little more colorfully.
But on the piano, the left hand is playing the lower notes.
Yes.
So like the rhythm.
And the left hand is the black individual, right? Or no?
That's what he says. Yeah. A black left hand.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So and then you have this scene where Jerry Lee returns as an adult, and he's peeking in on the black folks, and he literally climbs through the window, sits down at the piano next to someone playing the piano, and just starts playing. Yeah. And then you get this top-down shot of
a left black hand and a right white hand, or whatever the fuck.
Which I thought was interesting because it doesn't, at the very least, like, that's more acknowledgement than you would get from a lot of biopics.
Right. That was something that I was like, I felt like there was an aspect of and I'm not commenting on like how realistic it was or anything like that. Like, I'm not commenting on it in that sense, but I'm like, there is a separation that he is looking in at something that he is not a part of.
That's what I'm saying.
And there's not a point other than that where he's like playing the piano a little bit. Other than that, he's not actively changing their view of what's going on. He's coming in and inserting himself, but like, it's not changing anything that's going on for them. No one, like, it's not, they're not like, oh, wow, I've never heard the piano before. Like, it's not, there's not any sort of like.
Well, and there's no like.
I mean,
I think
when
he's barely acknowledged.
I think when he starts playing the piano, they're like, ooh, and that's pretty much it. But like. But
it's not like they envelop him.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, he's not uplifted. Like, he's not praised or anything like that. And I was like, okay, like, this is doing something interesting because it is showing.
Yeah.
That he is looking in.
Right.
and taking what he needs and bringing it back.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's as much of a commentary. I don't think the commentary was meant other than like, oh, like, you know, this was considered like taboo, like black music and black individuals were considered taboo.
And it's borderline.
And like
to me.
a
I don't
white
think
person
I don't think
being able to take that brought that music into the mainstream. I think it was more like that, but it was like watching it now, you're like, oh no, what it's saying is they weren't allowed, so he stole pieces of them and made himself famous off of it. So it's like, yeah, it's just really interesting.
Yeah. I appreciated the visual language of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And how it... Yeah, the fact... What you're saying is that, like, despite... It's unclear what the film's intent is.
Correct. I felt a little strange because it did feel like they were like the black club scenes were like they felt kind of hypersexualized. And
and that's sort of what I was referring to.
I can't tell if this is like, because black folks are both hypersexualized and demonized for it, for that. So I'm like, I can't really tell if it's just trying to show that like black folks had a freedom of expression that like white people have always like been like, I don't understand. Or if it's just doing the thing where it's like, ooh, they don't care. Well, like they don't have inhibitions or whatever.
You can make the argument, I think, that it's his gaze.
Yeah,
that we're
right,
seeing,
exactly. That's what I mean. Like I couldn't tell if it's like if you're like, oh, I can't tell if this is supposed to be like explaining like a gaze or like how they're viewed, or if this is just someone being like, well, who fucking you know?
So,
I don't know how this went. We'll just insert this, you know.
Yeah, the ambiguity of it is
that's the only part where I was like, I feel weird about this.
Yes. Yeah. It feels borderline to me, the portrayal.
Yeah, the whole
and that's what I was pointing to by referencing Armstrong and Bakshi, is that like it feels, it's one of those where it's like, okay, I feel like I'm expecting this should be seem cartoonish.
Right.
And it doesn't.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a weird dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's all.
I just wanted to say that there is this is like this is a total tone change from what you were saying.
Yeah.
So much gum chewing in this movie.
Oh, that's
They're
true.
just chewing gum every 5 seconds.
That's true.
I understand it was supposed to like be a nod to like the 50s, but like, oh my God, it's just like a wad of gum, and the gum just sounds like it's old gum. Like it does not sound like fresh gum. It just sounds like their jaws hurt. I can't imagine how much TMJ they suffered after making this film. And there's he drinks so much milk. The scenery comes in and he just like picks up a
great.
jar of
it's
milk.
It's a reveal. They're in England, right? Isn't that what it is? And then he's standing up, and the camera follows him as he sits down. But as that happens, entering the frame is
an ice bucket
a carafe of milk on ice, like it's a bottle of champagne. Love it.
Drinking it. Oh God, it's so disgusting. There's like a scene where he's chewing gum and drinking milk.
Yeah.
Oh, so fucking disgusting. I don't understand the milk. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, why? Why is there so much milk?
He's just
I mean,
boy.
I guess. Well, yeah, I was gonna say, I guess white supremacy. You drink milk when you're that white. You can't do anything else. Yeah, I don't know that I would. I mean, I do think this is an interesting. I mean, if you just want to see the amazing house that they move into, then it's worth watching.
Yeah,
that. But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I don't think we didn't note that Alec Baldwin plays Jimmy Swagger.
Oh, that's right.
Trey Wilson, who plays Sam Phillips, died before this came out.
Yeah,
it was his last film.
Yeah. That's wild.
I kept throwing up names that he like reminds me of so many different people. I'm like Billy Eichner, fucking Fred Ward.
Yeah.
What's his name? Corbin, that played Brenda Lee Johnson's dad.
Yeah.
On Northern Exposure.
Yeah. He's like an amalgam of all of them.
He's that guy. I mean, he was
He didn't
great.
remind me of Billy Eichner that much. That one was just really funny to me, but...
Yeah, that was the first one I stumbled. I mean, it's mostly the, anyway, ears, I think.
Yeah.
But, and it just square head. And anyway, it's not fair. It's not fair to either of them. But, Tobolowsky?
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah.
I like him.
So many things.
I want to like him. It's just hard after
He just plays
single white female.
Right. He loves to play gross. He just plays like smarmy guys. He always plays the smarmy guy.
I guess.
You know.
You think he was smarmy in this?
A little bit. He's just like one of the record people. So yeah.
Sure.
I mean, he was one of the only voices of reason, being like, they don't like you because you married a child, and he's just like, okay, I don't get it. And he's like,
oh, and John Doe playing his cousin,
JW,
Myra Gale's dad.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, JW. Thank you, John Doe of co-founder of the X, the band, the X. I told you this.
I didn't.
Or not the X. Sorry, X.
I was like, we saw them.
Different.
I was like, you did not tell me this.
Early LA punk.
Okay. I was like, what? The time that we were going to see the X in Chicago, and you posted going to see the X in Chicago, and someone was like, oof. Good luck, buddy. And you were like, no, the band, not my actual X.
Which is funny because I'm like, who do you think I'm going to see?
Also,
exactly.
Like, why would you? Oh, I'm gonna go see my ex. Like, why? I would not post about that.
No, I probably wouldn't either.
Anyway, we've been going for an hour and a half. So yeah, lots to cut out of this one. Just kidding.
Very special episode.
I know it is a very special episode because it's my birthday. Why wouldn't we talk about sexual assault and incest and inappropriate? But I'm like, yeah, no, this fits. This is on point.
Hey, also Alice Glass, right?
Yeah, no, seriously, yeah. Also, on the like Alice Glass, do not, if you are a fan of Crystal Castles, please stop listening to Crystal Castles. And I'm not being funny. I'm not. Alice Glass does not make any royalties from Crystal Castles. She was groomed, sexually assaulted, like very much abused, starved, like all kinds of things while she was in Crystal Castles. So, and she left the band. She makes her own music. It's great. Listen to that. It's different than Crystal Castles. It's not exactly the same as Crystal Castles. It doesn't need to be. But if you're listening to Crystal Castles, stop. Right. Alice Glass has on more than one occasion stated that not only does she not make money from Crystal Castles, but she actively loses money.
Really?
That's what she said. She said it's closer to losing revenue from when people stream Crystal Castles. So don't do it, because you're not just giving her abuser more fame. I mean, honestly, I wish that all that stuff would get removed from YouTube and shit like that, but whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't listen to Crystal Castles. Stream Alice Glass.
Don't listen to Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah, don't listen to Jerry Lee Lewis. Don't listen to fucking Marilyn Manson. Like,
no.
Like, these people, like, it does not matter what this music means to you. It does not matter. Like, think about, like, there is no such thing as separating the art from the artist. Because these people, the only thing I can say is if they're dead, then I don't really give a shit.
Well,
but think about who's making the money from that. Like,
correct.
Look into that too. But Woody Allen, Marilyn Manson, these people are alive. These people have done awful things. These people continuously do awful things. These people have no remorse, and they do not deserve your money. They've gotten enough of it.
Correct.
They don't need anything else. You cannot separate the art from the artist, because the art comes from the artist, because the artist makes money from the art. And so there is no way that you are able to actively separate those two things when part of what you are enjoying in consuming art from an abuser is their abusiveness. So yeah, don't do it for my birthday.
They didn't separate themselves from that behavior when they were making the thing.
Yes. And they didn't
I will say this though. I just want to say this, that like we all have people like this at this point, I feel
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
you're not responsible for liking a thing. It's
Right.
not your fault that you like something before you had this information.
Correct.
All right?
Yes.
And you get to keep those feelings and your relationship to that.
Yes. That's fine. Yeah.
And so I think people, the language of separate the art from the artist is clumsy
Correct.
in multiple ways.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, the point is now, if you stream something, even though it's fractions of a cent
Right.
on the dollar, the record companies that own it
Mm-hmm.
get most of the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that they will keep supporting
Correct.
the person
Right.
who made it,
Correct.
who is the abuser,
Yes.
or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So don't spend money on that. And that includes streaming
Correct.
on YouTube or
Mhm.
Spotify
Correct. Yes.
or what have you.
And to no, I that's
I'm
like,
laughing because I said what have you like 5 times. I feel like
I think it's like you said, like people will be like defensive because they didn't know, and they'll be like, well, I really like this music. It's fine that you like that music. No one's saying you have to suddenly, you know what? I fucking love Crystal Castles.
Right.
I love the way that, and it took me, I felt horrible about that. But I realized that like what I loved about it was Alice Glass, and I was like, I love that she was doing this. No, let me rephrase that. I love that. I don't love that she was doing this. I hear her despite the abuse
Right.
in this music, and that's something that I can still appreciate in it. However, I don't listen to it because she says, please don't listen to
Yeah,
it. So I listen
right.
to her. I don't listen to Crystal Castles.
It's
But it
also you have
doesn't mean that I still don't think that that is good music and that it still didn't have an impact and an influence on me. I just don't actively listen to it because I don't need to. Because
Yeah.
I think her life matters more than me putting a couple seconds of good music on.
which is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And white people, white men especially,
Mm-hmm.
that's like their favorite thing to.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's the hill whiteness will
Yeah.
die on.
Mm-hmm.
Is how dare you inconvenience me?
Yep.
How dare you ask me to not do something I
Mhm.
want to do?
Yeah.
How dare you suggest that I not find pleasure?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the whole existence.
Right.
The whole point of
That I should do something that doesn't even cause me pain,
correct,
but just
have to
changes
think,
how I perceive
Right.
pleasure.
or change my behavior in the
Yeah.
slightest.
Just alters how
So
I
I would
do
say
something.
also, like if you feel defensive
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
when some
Why? Ask yourself why you fucking
exactly
feel defensive.
like if you're like, oh, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
why is it that that you're more easily? I mean, I'm not saying it's easy,
No.
Right?
Yeah, but
Like,
that's the point.
and I think
it's
everybody
easier
has
to ignore.
go through this sort of growing pain of
Correct.
like, no, you're not going to be born with this knowledge,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
and you're going to discover at some point that
It is
someone you look
absolutely-
up to turns out to be not a great person.
Right. It's absolutely okay to change something that you were doing once you retain new information about the thing. Doing it before and not understanding, it maybe if it doesn't matter if you feel guilty, it doesn't matter if you feel bad, like that sucks. That doesn't change anything. You learned new information, your behavior changes, and then people are better off for it, including yourself.
Right.
And that's that. That's it. It's not about like, you don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to say, you can literally say, I didn't know before now.
Yeah.
Now I have new information. And that's literally as much as you have to really explain.
Yeah.
Like just be conscious of other people. And like one of the reasons why this movie got made and this person was able to do what they were able to do, why Marilyn Manson continues to abuse people and make money from music, and why, and I will say, like, men, especially cis men, mainly only cis men, not only cis men, but you know what I mean. Like, some women are abusers too. Some, lots of,
Sure.
there's abusers everywhere, but mostly cis men are able to behave this way because of the attitude of, well, what is me not listening to the music going to do? What is me not supporting this movie going to do? I don't know. But if everyone thought, you know what, I'm just going to sit this one out. If enough people do that, if enough people say, nope, this is too much, then a big shift starts to happen. And all you really need to do is think about who's being harmed by you stopping listening or stopping participating. And compare that to who's being harmed by you doing it.
Yeah. And part of these industries is so much of, it relies on us not knowing what's happening.
Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
As consumers.
Right. I mean, look at Kesha.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Oh, no, not your fault. The other point, and I know we're going on about this.
That's
but
fine. That's fine. It's my birthday. It's my birthday month.
Okay.
We can talk about this.
If your first response is they're only doing this for attention, and it's a, usually that's said about women
Yes.
who are somehow coming out saying they were abused or something like
Correct.
that. And your response is they're only doing this for attention or they're only doing this for money. So the fuck what? Worst case scenario?
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
The person that is being accused, he's not entitled to fame.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah.
That seems to be the thing. Like,
oh, what someone's career is gonna get destroyed because someone didn't like something that they did at one point.
Right.
Whose career's gotten destroyed?
Correct.
Who? Yeah. And if you're like, oh, this person,
Gilbert
and then
Gottfried.
you name, if you're like this person, and then you name someone who's still actively talked about, who's still in movies, like sometimes, like honestly, I mean, I don't want to bring this up because honestly, I hate the whole back and forth. Well, I was just gonna say like the Johnny Depp shit.
No.
Like people are like Amber Heard. No, people are. Oh my god, like Jesse, yeah. People are like, oh my god, he. Okay, I'm talking about serious things. Yeah. Oh my god, Amber Heard lied. I literally don't care if Amber Heard lied. His behavior,
I don't either.
His behavior is abhorrent. His behavior is absolutely abhorrent.
Yeah,
I literally
look
don't
at his
care.
Behavior against. It's not just her.
Yeah.
And also, he's what, in his 60s?
Yeah, he's like,
doing okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a career.
He like got asked to like people lose their shit. You got to what? Okay. I'll pause it. People talk. Okay, so when Amber Heard accused Johnny Depp of abuse or whatever, it doesn't matter whether it happened or not, he was not fired. He was not asked to leave any productions. Nothing happened to him. He sued her for defamation in the UK. For like, or he didn't sue her for defamation. He sued a paper for defamation because it said she alleged he abused her, and he was like, "Oh, it wasn't true." So and they were like, "No, you can't really." They were like quoting, like you can't like. So it got tossed out, and he lost the case. Because he lost the case, he was asked to leave a movie. Like, he got kicked off of a movie because he lost that case. Because he put such a big fucking fuss about it that he ended up, like basically he looked like an idiot. And so they asked him to leave. It had nothing to do. It had absolutely nothing to do with any shit that she'd said. Yeah. It was him saying you shouldn't have printed this, and they were like, we were literally printing a story that someone said. So there's, we can't get in trouble for that. And he lost. And he brought the same suit to the U.S. and won.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so everyone's like, oh my God, she's a lying fucking bitch. Here's the thing, though. The way that people talked about Amber Heard when she made the accusations, when she won her case, and when she lost, or when, Johnny Depp won his case in the U.S., language never changed.
Uh-huh.
The language never changed. She deserved it. What a bitch.
Yeah.
I hope she dies. Nothing ever changed.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't care if she's lying or not. I really don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
One, because he's a piece of shit anyway. I don't care. I can't stand him.
Right.
I can't stand the behavior around him.
For making allegations.
Right.
It's not a cakewalk, people.
Right. And it's like, right. And it's like, when someone says, this person is only saying this for attention.
Yeah.
I want you to look at all the comments.
Right.
I want you to look at every comment section, and I want you to tally up what attention is positive. I want you to compare the positive versus the negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to tell me.
Death threats.
Tell
threats
me.
of violence.
And you don't even have to go through all of them. Do like one or two. As many as you can until you get overwhelmed.
Till hopefully you get nauseated because you have a conscience.
And you will realize that the only attention they're getting is negative attention.
Yeah.
The only reception they're getting is being threatened and called names. And
which turns out
a
you
liar.
don't even have to accuse anybody of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just be a woman on the internet.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just be not a man on the internet.
Well.
And that's it. Like, all you have to do is say, like, I'm not sure that, whatever. Anyway, we have, it's like 3.5 hours.
Cool.
It's an hour and 45. We can trim some of this, for sure. But, these are obviously important topics to me. These are things that, that I care about, things that have impacted me, and things that Keith cares about, too, that have impacted his life as well.
Sure.
Because it impacts all of our lives.
Yeah.
And it's important to everyone. And I don't think that...
Well, I don't think we could talk about at a podcast when we talk about fucking movies.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think if we didn't talk about this stuff, then it would be...
No.
So, I... neither of us recommend this movie. And I'm glad we talked about the seriousness of it. And I'm glad we dissected more about, grooming and sex trafficking and things like that. That, honestly, and I didn't even go into the laws around sex trafficking that exist, that do nothing for people who are sex trafficked, that only cause harm.
Well, also in, the last 5-10 years, the specter of human trafficking, sex trafficking is used to censor a lot of
correct,
online sex work.
Yes,
in a way that's not actually effective.
Correct.
And in fact,
it's not effective. But the same laws that are used in quote unquote protecting people who are sex trafficked cause more harm and only protect the traffickers, which in turn ends up harming not just people who are being sex trafficked, but sex workers, survival sex workers, any, online sex workers, in-person sex workers, all of these things. And this is just to highlight the fact that, people have no actual real respect. Anything that's been done to quote unquote protect these people has clearly not worked. Anything that's been done to any laws that have been created have only been set in place to limit the actual help that someone can get. So they've every single law that has been created supposedly to help victims of sexual violence and sexual sex trafficking. They have actually created a bigger problem for those people and created such a scenario, so that if you are a victim, you cannot ask for help without getting in trouble yourself.
Yeah.
So think about that the next time someone's like, sex trafficking, we should make this law. There should not be any laws around sex trafficking. It should all be decriminalized. No, I'm serious.
Okay.
It needs to be decriminalized. Like, decriminalizing, I mean, no laws around, like, sex trafficking in the sense of, like, when you decriminalize, as opposed to setting up laws around something, it gives people a safe place. Because, like, someone can say, like, I'm in a situation where, like, there's domestic violence. I'm in a situation where there's this. A lot of times these laws that are set in place are set up so that if there's laws around something as opposed to something being decriminalized, the law around it will make it so that someone might not be able to seek help. So you could say, like, if you are ever in a situation where you're being sex trafficked, you might be doing something illegal.
Right.
So you're doing something illegal, so then you end up getting arrested and you end up getting in trouble because there's laws around it.
Right.
When you decriminalize sex work, when you decriminalize these things that are associated with sex trafficking and stuff like that, you make a safe space so that someone can come to the authorities for help. They can say, and they're not going to get in trouble. They're not going to get in trouble for doing sex work the wrong way or for stepping outside of the legal boundaries of sex work and stuff like that. Fully decriminalize.
Decriminalize sex work.
Yes, but the laws made around sex trafficking are like, it's like really, it's really complicated. It's not, it's nuanced and it's not, but like what is illegal about like sex trafficking is like basically if you, so like how it's set up now, like the person being sex trafficked will probably get into more trouble than the person doing sex trafficking. You know, and also if you look at shit like people who are kidnapped and like assaulted and sex trafficked and they escape their like there's been cases of someone like killing their the person that has kidnapped them and is like sexually abusing them. They kill them to get away from them, or like in a struggle they kill this person and get arrested and charged with murder. What the fuck?
Yeah. Kristen Hayter, lingua ignota. I guess it said that, like, you know, dealing with the legal system and going through you know, trying to hold people accountable for their abuse was the second kind of hell from surviving the abuse.
Right. Because imagine going through something horrifying. Getting the courage to leave that situation or asking for help to leave it. Saying, you know what, I want them to get in trouble for this. Or I want them to be held accountable for this. And that's the extent of it. You're like, I want them to be held accountable for all the horrible things they've done to me. And then you get to not only relive it repeatedly.
Which by itself
is, horrifying. But then you get to be called a liar. You get to be like cross-examined. You get to have your entire life dissected. You get to have everything you've ever said or done viewed through the lens of you're a fucking liar who asked for it.
Yeah, right.
And why?
And that's our legal system.
Why would anyone fucking come forward?
Yeah. Why didn't you come forward sooner?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell anybody?
Fucking horrible. Anyway, on that note, believe survivors.
Yeah. You know, it's like, because I used to live in places where, you know, I would encounter people panhandling.
Yeah.
And, you know, the people who say, like, you don't give them money because they'll just spend it on drugs or alcohol or something. I'm like, or they might. They might be an addict. They might be, you know, like, okay. I mean, that's cool. They might also just buy food. I don't, like, you're right. I can't tell.
Right. As someone else said when they were like, oh, don't give them money, they'll just spend it on booze, and they're like, that's what I was planning on spending it on, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Why can't they?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, it's this thing where it's like, I'm not saying, like, there is no, like, sometimes shelters have, like, a fee for you to be able to, like, a homeless shelter has a fee for someone to be able to stay the night. So maybe they're going to buy booze. Maybe they're going to buy a warm bed for the night. You don't fucking know.
The point is, like, you're not...
Also, you know what? If it's that... if you're going to give them $3 and they're going to go buy a shot of fucking whiskey with that or whatever...
Yeah, it's not going to be good.
Fuck off. But if you're so fucking worried, why don't you just get them a motel for the night?
Yeah.
If you're that fucking worried about it.
Yeah, that was...
spend $25 and get them a really cheap motel for the night.
It's not going to... You're not going to lose anything by believing.
Right.
I mean, I feel like there's so embedded into our culture that, like, you're only doing it for attention. Okay, if you're so worried about that, like, why is it that attention is so rarefied?
Yeah.
That people have to do all kinds... that you think people will do all kinds of...
Right. For
crazy nonsense
attention.
For a modicum of someone paying attention to them.
Yeah. Also, like, yes, I do want attention.
Yes. It's a human need.
I have a fucking podcast. I have a YouTube channel. I have a fucking Twitter. Yeah, pay attention to me. Yeah, I like it. I want to be paid attention to. I don't want to feel fucking alone.
It's a human need.
There is
none of us are above this.
Wrong with wanting or needing attention. There is nothing inherently negative about attention.
Doesn't make you a narcissist.
It doesn't make you a
sociopath.
It doesn't make you a narcissist. It doesn't make you a psychopath. It doesn't mean you're asking for it. It doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It doesn't mean that you're a liar. It doesn't mean that you are unlovable. It doesn't mean that you're a joke. None of that. You want attention, that's fine. And you know what? When I talk about my assault, when I talk about my abuse, I do want attention, but the type of attention I want is someone to listen to me.
Yeah, right.
I don't want you
to
say, I mean, like, yeah, if someone was like, here's $1 million for the pain and anguish you've been through, I'd be like, thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks. That's cool.
That's a start.
I don't actually think that me talking about my abuse, me talking about my struggles is going to do anything but maybe possibly have someone say, fuck, I'm not alone. Right. And that's the only reason that I do it.
And also, let's look at the bias of, like, oh, this person is abusing the either another human's trust,
right,
by lying to them to get attention,
right,
or they're gaming the system. These are things that white men do, and they are lauded as geniuses and innovators.
Correct.
And also, guess what? They can change the laws so that they're not. Anyway.
I know. Honestly, like, this conversation and this episode could go on forever.
Yeah.
And it's a little depressing.
It has already.
It has. It's a little depressing in a sense because it's so... because you're like, okay, you started talking about Great Balls of Fire. Like, how did you get onto sex trafficking? How did you get onto rape and abuse and all of these things?
Oh, very short trip.
Because it's all connected. Because it's literally a story.
That's also portrayed in that movie.
Well, yes, it's portrayed in that movie. But what I'm saying is, like, we're not going to, when we see that, we're not going to gloss over that. Because I've experienced assault. I've experienced abuse. I've experienced neglect. I've experienced that. And so I'm not going to look at something and just be like, oh, well, you know, we all go through stuff. I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to bring attention to it. And if you're uncomfortable by that, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Right.
You should be uncomfortable with it. And, you know, anyway, I realize I'm in control of stopping this. I realize I kind of forget that aspect. That's the negative side of me being in control because I never know how to say goodbye. So.
Oh shit.
Anyway, this episode might be super long. We might cut some of the stuff out of it. But honestly, if we don't, I don't give a shit because it's a really heavy topic, but it's a topic that has touched so many people. And like, we literally rattled off names in this episode, and that's just stuff we've been like looking at in the past like week.
Yeah, right.
Like, this is not every name. This is not every individual. This is not every person. And a lot of the people that we've mentioned are white.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we haven't even gone into the amount of like exploitation and violence that happens to black bodies, and the hypersexualization of black women and black children and the things that they experience. Like, this topic is never ending, which is why we're stopping it, because we would never stop the episode. But like, I encourage you, honestly, to listen to read about these things that women and non-men have experienced, the abuse that they've experienced, to read about it firsthand accounts, and to read it and do your best to not be critical. And I mean that not just to men, but not look and say, why would you do that? Why would you put up with that? Why would you? No, stop. Think about being in that situation and how scary it must be. Like, put yourself into their shoes and try to empathize with these people. And when you do that, you will see the strength that it takes to talk about these situations as opposed to just wanting attention. You will see how strong a person has to be, how absolutely, and I don't want to say fearless, but how fearful someone is when they speak out about this, and how terrifying that is, and how they're doing it anyway. And they're not doing it because they're like, you know what, I'm going to get a bunch of money for this. They're doing it because they're like, you know what, this person can't keep hurting people. You know what, I can't stay silent anymore. You know what, I've been through enough pain. I don't want to silence myself more than they already silenced me. If you look at these things, if you read these accounts and you think about these people and what they went through, and you try your best, even if empathy is hard for you, like, I'm not calling someone a piece of shit for that. Like, try to think about what it must feel like, what you would feel if you were in that situation. You know, I mean, unless it's like heavy trigger warning, and then like be cautious. But like, if you've experienced that, you don't need to really do that. But you know,
right. If it's not your experience,
right? Exactly.
That's what makes it empathy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying, like really truly understand that these things aren't discussed and talked about because people are having fun while they're doing it. These things aren't discussed and talked about and shared because people feel good when they there is a catharsis in talking about it, but it brings up awful memories. It brings up really scary shit, and it makes people often feel like they're right back in that situation again. So anytime someone is talking about these things, anytime someone is discussing these things, they're not doing it from a place of happiness and being like, can't wait for the whole world to see this story and throw money at me. No one's throwing money at people like this. Attention is not given to people like this except for someone. And, you know, honestly, even if someone's like, oh, I'm so sorry, that doesn't even feel great. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry you went through that. Okay. Yeah, me too. That's why I'm talking about it.
Right.
Like, anyway, I just wanted to say, you know, even if it's hard, like, listen. Just listen. And do your best to uplift people who aren't being listened to.
Yeah. Again, you're not going to lose anything by listening.
Correct. Yes. Anyway, this is a heavy episode, and that's okay. And we hope we've given you something to think about. And, yeah, check out our Patreon and have a good week.
A lot of shaking going on. Come on over, baby. Baby, you can't go. We ain't faking. A lot of shaking going on. Come on over, baby. We got kicking in the bar.
Oh, I'm going to go see my ex.